7 lottery winners who went broke. Number 7. Abraham Shakespeare. In 2006, an illiterate sanitation worker named Abraham Shakespeare won a whopping $30 million in the Florida lottery. Unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of time to enjoy it. The Lakeland resident squandered almost all of it within 2 years. It was in 2008 that he met a woman named Dee Moore who offered to write his life story. She never got around to it and instead grabbed his home and what was left of his fortune. In April of 2009, Shakespeare was shot twice in the chest with a .38 caliber pistol. He wasn't reported missing until November, and his body was found under a slab of cement in January 2010. The culprit? Dee Moore. On December 10, 2012, Moore was convicted of first-degree murder for the killing of Abraham Shakespeare. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, with an additional minimum sentence of 25 years for possessing a gun in the course of a violent felony. A judge has since ruled that Shakespeare's remaining assets be returned to the estate of the deceased lottery winner. Number 6. David Lee Edwards. Unemployed felon David Lee Edwards won $27 million. As soon as he got his first check, he went on an insane spending spree. He bought a $1.6 million house in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, a $1.9 million Learjet, a second home for $600,000, and 3 racehorses. He invested $4.5 million in a fiber optics company and limo business, paid his ex-wife $500,000 for custody of their teenage daughter, and bought a $200,000 Lamborghini Diablo and a multitude of other cars, including a $35,000 Hummer golf cart. Edwards spent $3 million in his first 3 months as a lottery winner, and by the end of that year, he spent a total of $12 million. By 2006, nearly all of his money was gone and he struggled with drug addiction. He recently lost both of his homes and was forced to live in a storage unit that was infested with human feces. Edwards died broke and alone in a hospice on November 30, 2014, 12 years after winning the lottery. Number 5. Ryan McKechnie. Ryan McKechnie won £40,000 and had hoped to turn his life around after battling drug addiction. He never got the chance. He was stabbed to death less than 1 year later. The 31-year-old father of 3 won the money in the Irish lottery. He had been free of drugs and was raising his 3 children alone, but relapsed after his mother's death. A friend said of Ryan's lottery win, all his supposed mates started hanging around, so he didn't have the money for long. Broke, he struggled to make ends meet for himself and his family. Apparently, someone believed that he still had a stash of cash, and he was murdered in a home invasion robbery in February 2014. Number 4. Callie Rogers. 16-year-old Callie Rogers won £1.9 million in 2003. The lucky teen, who was working for £3.60 an hour when she won the jackpot, vowed to be responsible with her winnings, but quickly broke that promise. She spent it all on vacations, homes, shopping sprees, and even breast implant surgery. Disappointed in the knowledge that money couldn't buy happiness, she attempted suicide 4 times and blew about £250,000 on cocaine. Rogers is now a mother of 2. She lives in a modest house and works as a maid to sustain herself while studying to become a nurse. Despite losing all her winnings, she insists she's never been happier. Number 3. Janite Lee. In 1993, 52-year-old Janite Lee won an $18 million payout from the Missouri Lottery. The South Korean immigrant wanted to make a difference with her newfound wealth and contributed widely to various charities including educational programs, community services, and political organizations. She was reported to have donated more than $1 million to Washington University, where her namesake reading room commemorates the occasion. She gave $277,000 to the Democratic Party and met with Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and even the president of South Korea. She donated on a smaller scale as well. The family of a deceased South Korean pastor received $30,000, and the St. Louis Korean American Association was gifted with a house. A Korean adoption-related association also benefited. Lee's philanthropy was expensive, as were her exquisite homes, cars, and gambling debts. After losing just $347,000 in a single year, the writing was on the wall. Lee filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2001. Number 2. Jack Whittaker Jr. West Virginia building contractor Andrew Jackson, aka Jack Whittaker Jr., won $315 million on Christmas Day 2002. At that time, he was the single largest jackpot winner in history. Whittaker was already successful. He was the president of a contracting company called Diversified Enterprises Construction and had a net worth of over $1 million. He had a loving family and several healthy, happy grandkids. After winning the prize, he intended to do the right thing and pledged 10% of his winnings to various Christian charities. He also dumped $14 million into the Jack Whittaker Foundation, a nonprofit that provided food and clothing to low-income families. What could possibly go wrong? While Whittaker did some good with his money, he had his demons. He was arrested twice. A woman filed a lawsuit against him after claims that he groped her at a racetrack. While he was visiting a strip club, thieves took $545,000 in cash from his car. He eventually started bouncing checks and his wife divorced him. As a result of his win, Whittaker also left a trail of dead bodies. His granddaughter's boyfriend was found dead of an overdose inside his home, and she fatally overdosed months later at a different location. Her mother also died of undetermined causes. Whittaker, left with no family or no fortune, said in hindsight, "I wish I'd torn that ticket up." Number 1. Curtis Sharpe. In 1982, Curtis Sharpe beat $609 million to 1 odds to win $5 million. The air conditioning technician from Newark, New Jersey was set for life. But like many lottery winners, he squandered his money on bad investments, generous gifts to family and friends, and a lifestyle he simply couldn't afford. Unlike other lottery winners, however, Sharpe's story has a good ending. He was smart enough to keep his job at Bell Laboratories for 8 years after winning. He is now a Baptist minister living off his pension and Social Security checks in a modest house in Antioch, Tennessee. He spends his days preaching and doing prison ministry. Of his winnings, he said, "A fool and his money are soon parted. And honey, I acted a fool." Thank you for watching Interesting Top 7s. If you enjoyed this video, drop us a comment, click the like button, and subscribe for new videos every week.